Today we're going to continue to talk about why somebody with a genuine faith in Jesus Christ has so much joy. Hello everybody, this is Pastor Lyle and welcome to Daily Renewal. We're going to continue our series today on genuine faith. Before we get into that today, if you're new to our channel, I just want to encourage you to hit that like button below and consider becoming a subscriber to our channel. Doing that will enable you to access over 100 different videos on various Christian topics that are all designed to help you in your Christian walk. So let's get into our topic today. We've been talking about the idea of having a genuine faith. You know, there's many people today that say they follow God or even they follow Jesus or they go to church. But you know, there's some real key things we need to understand. If you're a true follower of Jesus Christ, there is a transformation that happens in your life. And we've been looking at 1 Peter, and one of the things that it mentions in chapter 1, when Peter was talking to the early church, he talked about the fact that with a genuine faith, there's some things that happen. You know, in previous episodes, we've talked about the fact that if you have a genuine faith in Jesus Christ, you'll have a love for Jesus. And the second thing that we talked about is that you will have a trust in Jesus, a trust that in Him that He will guide your life. And then the third thing was that you will have inexpressible joy. But you know what? You can have absolutely terrible circumstances in the natural coming at you and yet still have a joy in your heart. And this is the difference that I found when I became a Christian over 20 years ago, is that, you know what? The Lord has done something in my life to where I now have joy. I can have joy in every circumstance in life. So yesterday we were focusing on verse 6 of 1 Peter chapter 1, and it says this. It starts out by saying, "In this you greatly rejoice, though now for a little while it need be, you have been grieved by various trials." Well, the idea of it saying, "In this you greatly rejoice," we have to look a few verses before to see why we greatly rejoice. Why is it that as a believer, we can greatly rejoice? And he was saying this to the early church who was under heavy persecution. Well, in what? What was it that they were able to rejoice? Well, yesterday we talked about the fact that we can rejoice as believers because Jesus has given us hope. So today I want to continue looking at verse 4 on another clue that Peter gives us on why we can have hope. So let's start by reading from verse 3 so that we can put this all together. It says this. It says, "Blessed be the God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, who according to His abundant mercy has begotten us again to a living hope through the resurrection of Jesus Christ from the dead, to an inheritance incorruptible and undefiled, and that does not fade away, reserved in heaven for you." So as we alluded to yesterday, one of the reasons that we can have hope is because there is a plan beyond what we know here and now on this earth. God has created you to be an eternal being. And part of the promise that He has is beyond this world. And so we see here, it says that He has given us an inheritance. Now I want you to think about this idea of an inheritance. An inheritance is often something we get when a family member, whether it's a parent or somebody that's moved on before us, leaves something for us. And if that was to happen today, we look and would it be a great benefit? Well, you're getting something that's passed down. Well, if you think about that in comparison, for example, let's take one of the richest people in the world, Jeff Bezos. I can tell you right now that probably for all of us, the inheritance that we receive in the natural from our parents as they move on is nothing in comparison to what Jeff Bezos' kids will receive. If we try to imagine the difference between the inheritance we get and Jeff Bezos' kids, there's quite a difference. It's hard to imagine what that inheritance would be like. Well, that being the case, I can tell you right now, the richest man in this world has nothing in comparison to God. And even though God is not going to die eternally, he says that he has an inheritance for us. And I want you to think about that for a moment, because that inheritance is way beyond what we can ever imagine. So let's talk a little bit about that inheritance today, because it will unlock a little bit of the mystery on why believers have so much joy in their life. Now, the first thing that we want to cover about this inheritance that God has set for us to receive, it says here that it's an inheritance that is incorruptible. Well, if you study that word incorruptible, some versions actually put it as imperishable. So let's break this down. The inheritance that God has reserved for us is incorruptible or imperishable. And that word also, if we break it down in the Greek, means undecaying, continuing, or immortal. So we have to understand that whatever God has planned for us, it's something that will not cease. Whatever it is that and we're going to get into that in a moment, whatever it is that God is planning for us, there will be no end to it. It will be immortal. It will be for eternity. So I want you to think about this for a moment. If you were to get an inheritance from the richest man in the world, I guarantee you that there would be things about that inheritance that would blow your mind. You go, man, this is way better than I even imagined. You know, I could think about how big a deal this would be, but there would be things about that inheritance that would be far above what you ever expected. Well, when you think about God, I want you to understand that what he wants to give you is so far above what you can ask or think that it would blow your mind. Now, in 1 Corinthians 3, starting in verse 21, this is what God says. He says, "Therefore, let no one boast in men, for all things are yours. Whether Paul or Apollos or Cephas or the world or life or death or things present or the things to come, all are yours." Whatever is God's, he is saying, I am giving it all to you. Things beyond this world, they're all given to you. Everything that is God's. And you know, I was thinking about this earlier. You know, I want you to imagine what it'd be like to be an animal like maybe a fish. You live in a fish bowl all your life, and then all of a sudden, your owner decides to take you out of the fish bowl, puts you in a little bag, and drives you around the city to show you all the things that you've never seen outside that fish bowl. Well, I don't know what it would be like to be a fish, and I don't know if a fish ever thinks that. But could you imagine what it would be like to be somebody trapped in a fishbowl all your days, and then all of a sudden you get to see things that are way beyond what you are capable of even imagining? Well, you know, when we look at our universe, think about this. On our planet, man, as smart as man is, he's never even been to the deepest depths of the ocean on our own planet. You know, when we look through telescopes and we see all these things in the universe that man is even just discovering now, it just seems that the further we go out into the universe, the more we see what God has created, the more we realize we have no idea of the vastness of God. God has prepared things that man has never even comprehended. And yet he says, I'm giving them all to those who call on my name. All of those who have made Jesus their Lord, I give them an inheritance, and that inheritance is everything that I have. Well, when I look at my current situations on the things that I don't have, I could easily get down about that. But when I understand that when I pass from this world into eternity, I am passing into a place where there is no pain, where there is no lack, and where everything that is God's is now mine. It brings absolute joy to me to know that I am not going to have to put up with any of these things anymore. You know, I want to encourage you today. Don't get caught up in the things of this world, in this life. Paul understood that, the idea of being in eternity with God, that is our destination. Being here is not all what it's cracked up to be. Being here is simply a preparation ground for the time that is to come, the time where we will be with God. And in fact, Paul even clarifies this more in the book of Colossians, chapter 3, starting in verse 1, where he says this: "If then you were raised with Christ, seek those things which are above, where Christ is, sitting at the right hand of God. Set your mind on the things above, not on the things on the earth." Now that word mind is also translated heart in some translations. Paul understood that, for us as believers, if we have our mind set on the things above, then we're going to have a better understanding of this idea of having a genuine faith. When our heart is set on the things above, it sets everything in order as far as our emotions, as far as having joy in our life. When we understand that beyond this world, there's something that is immortal, there's something that is imperishable, there's something that is so much better than what we're experiencing now, that God is actually preparing for us. But we can't afford to get stuck. We can't afford to let our thinking get stuck on the things of this world. As I look back at what Paul said, he said, for me to be with Christ, that's a benefit for me. But he said, I have a decision to make, and that decision is I can either be with him or I can come back, and for your benefit, I would stay so it would help you. And for me, when I look at this, I long to be in eternity with God. That doesn't mean that I'm suicidal. But as much as that's the case, I look forward, and it's with joy that I know that Jesus has prepared a place for me. But that being the case, now when I look at my life, I go, there's so many people that don't know what that's like. They don't know what it's like to have hope. They don't know what it's like to understand what goes on in even my heart in regards to eternity. And so now I look at it a lot the same way as Paul did. And that's a lot of the reason why I even do Daily Renewal, is because there's so many people who don't know just how much Jesus loves them. And they don't understand that God is preparing a place for them. Don't understand that there's unspeakable joy just waiting for them when they come to know who Jesus is, what Jesus has done, and how much he cares for them. And so, just like Paul, my desire is, by doing this, is to try to help people get just a glimpse of what Paul saw, just a glimpse of what I'm seeing. I'm not talking about a dead religion. I'm not talking about going to church on Sunday. I'm talking about a real relationship with a God who cares so much about you. He wants you to know that he's willing to give everything to you. He wants to show you, don't get caught up in the things of this world, because this is temporal. We all spend a time here, but there's a time beyond here that God is preparing you for. Embrace what he's done for you so that you can come into that place of inexpressible joy. Well, I hope you got something out of that today. I really hope that you're encouraged to see that Christianity is much more than a dead religion. It's a relationship with Jesus, and he wants to show you just how much he cares. Well, I just want to encourage you again today. If you got something out of this video, consider becoming a subscriber. Also, hit that like button below so that we can get these videos out to more people. Having said that, looking forward to talking to you tomorrow. God bless you, and have a great day.